Hey, it's me. It's a me, a Mario. No, it's not. Anyway, so, not the typical intro here. We're starting a new series, but also, it's not a new series. It's actually an old series. Uh, that ended about 10 years ago, that I used to do. About a certain, franchise, one of my favorite shows of all time. Um, Friendship is Magic. I used to review the comics for that. So I did this series called Reading Between the Lines back then. It was on a separate channel, which actually got like a fair amount of views. This was in the height of like the Brony fandom or whatever. So I know that doesn't have a lot to do with Life is Strange. That's actually the comic we're talking about now. So if you don't care about My Little Pony, no big deal. I was just kind of giving a little history there about this series. Technically it's not new, but technically it is. It's rebooted, totally rebooted, it's whatever. We're gonna talk about the Life is Strange. So I'm gonna use this series to start talking about books that are related to video games, that kind of thing. Maybe some comics, with a gaming sort of theme to them. I did my Ready Player One reviews. Retroactively, those will probably be part of this series, Reading Between the Lines. So, yeah. Here we are. To episode 6 technically, but episode 1 to this series. Or episode 3 if we're counting the Ready Player One books. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's the first episode of the Life is Strange books. The first being this guy here, Life is Strange Dust, Volume 1. It's not the issue 1. It's like the first 6 issues or something of Life is Strange. What is the deal with this? This is the alternate ending This is the ending that I chose initially, the one where you save Chloe and sacrifice Arcadia Bay. That's this story. They made a thing to connect with this story. Also, in Life is Strange 2, if you choose that as your ending, there's some cool things later where you can see photos of Chloe and Max and stuff. I think this came out after... Yeah, this is 2019. Okay, so this came out after Life is Strange 2, but the continuity isn't exactly like... I don't think it exactly lines up. Maybe it does. I don't know. It could. I haven't finished them all yet. I've just read the first issue, or first volume here. And so that's what I want to just talk about. But the idea is, and you can even see it on the cover there, that's kind of your two choices. Although in the other one, it's weird that Max is like caused the storm, because in the other timeline the storm wouldn't exist, and they kind of touch on that in the book too. So what the book is about, I tried to set it up here, but it didn't really, it wouldn't, and before that, so I'm just gonna set it here. What the first issue here is, or the first, I keep saying first issue, first volume is about, is, it's about Max and Chloe, of course, in the ending where you decide to save Chloe. Arcadia Bay has been sacrificed, as it were, so you kind of are getting to see what their lives are after that ending. So you didn't really get a lot with that ending, and that was kind of the issue with that one, so it's what made it felt not very, very non-canon. In a sense, you just kind of get a little bit of a blurb, and then, you see the ending where they're driving out of Arcadia Bay. And it only takes a couple of minutes compared to the other ending, which is, really emotional and heart-wrenching, and it takes, 20, 30 minutes. It's like a really long ending. You have to, watch Chloe get... Spoilers for Life is Strange, by the way. If you haven't played Life is Strange, seriously, what the fuck? Go play it. I've already ranted enough about it. I did individual episode things about it, so... In the ending where, the other ending, so she dies, you have to watch her get shot, and you have to go to her funeral, and all this crap, and, yeah, but, in this ending, Arcadia Bay gets destroyed. Also, they haven't brought it up yet, so maybe the continuity is still there, but I believe in the ending where Arcadia Bay gets destroyed, like, Joyce is dead in that ending. All from the information of Life is Strange 2, that is. She is dead, but then, like, you get to see her in the book, and that's part of, like, the weirdness of it. I'll get into that in a second. But David actually survives, and so we'll see if David is actually still alive in this timeline, or whatever timeline she ends up in. That's kind of where the book ends here in a minute. So, spoilers for the comic, too, by the way, the first volume. Max starts experiencing these things called flickers, which are like her reality is kind of intertwining itself with the other realities, or she's like kind of going back and forth between the other realities. Like, yeah, so it starts happening a lot to her, and so she'll see these other, like, another Chloe that doesn't really understand, like, she was going one way and the other Chloe was going the other way, or was just standing there kind of thing, and they'll diverge in different little ways. You know, all the little multiversal, like, string theory realities can, like, she, like, jumps into, and you know, like, I guess it's implied later on that she's, like, not the Max from this reality. Like, I don't really know how that works. Like, how she got to this reality or whatever. It's some, like, timey-wimey, wobbly, gobbly stuff here. It's really intense, and it's, like, way beyond, like, my understanding. And we'll see if this, like, gets cleared up in the later. Right now, she's not even sure about it, so I think we're meant to feel confused. But basically what starts happening to her is, you know, it starts like that, and then Chloe's like, alright, screw it. They like have these new friends now. They're like in this band. They wanted them to go to like a pirate themed event, which is kind of funny because, you know, they're like, oh, we're all in for that, you know, or whatever. But then Chloe's like, we need to go back to Arcadia Bay and like sort this all out or whatever. So they go back. Also on TV, it was talking about the storm. It's been like 1 year since the storm, and they're doing Nathan's dad. You know, Nathan's dead in this timeline due to Mark Jefferson, but they wrote it off like he died in the storm. So Mark Jefferson gets off just like a little bit more free there in a sense. He's not free, but, you know, he's probably in jail or something. But or maybe he's dead. I think he is. No, they say that in the book that he is dead. They're like, they're gone now. All of them are gone now. It doesn't really matter, etc., etc. So, yeah. But anyway, when they get to Arcadia Bay, or like even right before that, she starts getting these more intense flickers, and then especially when they get to the Two Whales Diner, she gets this really intense flicker where she like starts to see the other reality, and the Two Whales is like totally open, and she sees Dana there, and she's got the baby. Like, you know, Dana was pregnant in the first game, so it's like a kind of a nice continuation of that. But, you know, and then Chloe starts seeing it, and she's like, I see Dana, and she hears her mom, like, in the back, saying something, and then, but, like, her mom knows it's her, and she's not surprised that Chloe's not dead, so it's, like, another timeline altogether where Chloe survives, and she, like, goes off or something. I don't know. It gets really complicated, is what it is. But anyway, she's like really like, oh my god, I almost saw my mom, you know, because they haven't processed all this yet. They haven't really dealt with all of it. It's kind of hard to do. And she kind of promised Chloe she wouldn't use her time powers, and she doesn't want to be using them. But Chloe thinks that she's using them because all this shit is happening. And Max is like, you know, I can't control this. This isn't me doing this. You know, maybe it's the universe or whatever. And her and Chloe have this like talk about how they don't know that it was Max's powers that caused the storm, but like later on, she sees, they go to Chloe's house again, and you know, in their timeline it's destroyed, like it's wrecked on the inside. It's not destroyed, it's still structurally there. But she sees Joyce there, Max does, and she asks her about the storm. She's like, was there a storm or whatever? And Joyce is like, no, of course there wasn't a storm. Like, what are you talking about, you know? And Chloe's there too, and since she could see her earlier, she's kind of like, what the fuck? I can't see her right now. And it's kind of this like moment where you're like Max can see her, but Chloe can't, and so Chloe just wants to like reconcile with her mom and just to tell her like, hey, I'm sorry about everything and whatever. So she tells Max to tell her. So that's kind of a nice moment there. Chloe being the bigger person finally, you know, and growing up a little bit there, and kind of taking responsibility for some of her actions. So that's nice. Yeah. But anyway, so they're gonna go to this thing at Blackwell Academy that's like gonna be like mourning the lost from the storm there. And then all of a sudden you see Warren, and I'm like, oh, Warren survived, cool. But then you start to realize, oh no, this isn't the Warren of this universe. He's not actually, you know, there. He's one of the part of the Flickers, you know, or whatnot. And so then like Max crosses over to his universe or whatever, however that works, and then, you know, they're like talking, and he's like explaining, yeah, my Max like figured all of this out. They're called Flickers, and it's happening a lot. Like the Maxes are kind of like jumping through times and whatnot. And so yeah, it's just this like big problem, and they're trying to figure out how to solve it basically. There's even this one part that she like jumps over this other timeline where she's like at her grave, and you can see like little instant camera there that like Chloe gives her in Life is Strange 1, and like her pirate hat there on Max's grave, and it's just like really sad. But the grave says 2008, so like the implication, or what she kind of hints at there, is that like she went with William to go pick up Joyce, and she died that way. So it's like all these scenarios that like fucking didn't happen in the games, but like they're all these like alternate universe sort of things, these little like strings of time or whatever. And she even asked Chloe like, do you believe in the string theory and all this time stuff? And she's like, yeah, kind of, you know, after what's happened over the past like year, like anything's possible. And Max is like, I fucking believe in it because it's happening to me right now, basically. Then she has this moment with like Chloe where like she kind of realizes like, or Chloe realizes, she's like, you're trying to hold on to this reality even though you might not be the one that's supposed to be here. And she even says that herself, like, maybe there's not supposed to be a Max Caulfield here. I did see that grave, but also I don't know if the grave was in this universe specifically. It's like it's really confusing time travel stuff, but I'm just like, or universe hopping or multiverse stuff. It's like some fucking Rick and Morty shit or whatever, except like 20 times more complicated. But anyway, so she's like, I need to go into the thing. I don't remember what she called it, but she had like some name for it. Like, I need to go into the ether basically and like find my timeline that I need to be in, and like see if I can solve this or whatever. And Chloe like already figured this out beforehand, and she's like, you're holding on to this one, just go, it's fine. You'll figure it out. You'll figure out your way back here or wherever you need to be. And then they have this like really nice, emotional, touching moment where they have to say goodbye to each other again. You know, it's like, can they ever just be happy together? I was watching this video earlier about one of the Life is Strange games. I think it was before the story. Oh, it was Farewell, actually. This guy named William Hella, who does a lot of great, or did do a lot of great Life is Strange videos back in the day, analyzing the Before the Storm stuff and Captain Spirit, and he did like the first episode of the second game there, but he like fell off and he's busy now and stuff. Anyway, point being that he's like, can't we just ever have a happy ending in a Life is Strange game? And I'm like sitting there like, yeah, I know, right? Like, I want that. I want that too, man. But it's just not gonna happen. That's just Life is Strange for you. You cannot have a happy ending. It never is happy. So, hopefully the comics prove that wrong, and somehow we can get a happy ending out of this. But I'm not holding my breath that we will. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. Basically, so then Max like goes into this ether, and she's like ready to like go to whatever time. You see all these other little timelines or whatever. Actually, I could just show. We have visuals on this. Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't show that though because she's like sort of nakedish. Anyway, it's very strange stuff. This book is really weird, by the way. Yeah, that's like them saying goodbye and whatnot, and you know, it's just more Max and Chloe, which is nice. It's just really cool. You know, I like that. But yeah, you see all these like little different timelines of all these like different people, you know, with Max and then she ends up on this like this beach, basically. And one of the timelines earlier, Rachel was there, and she was like talking to her, like as if Max and her were like always there in that timeline. So there was some timeline where Rachel and Max and Chloe were all there together, and Rachel was dating Frank, I guess, because she like mentions that, and she's like, what's with you two holding hands or whatever, unless you want to have like a three-way or something. So maybe she's not dating Frank. I don't know. Like oh my god, it's just so, there's so many things going on in all these alternate timelines and whatnot. It's just like, I don't know what to believe anymore. You know, what's happening? And I guess that's kind of the point. It's more like episode 5 of Life is Strange, where you're in that like bizarre nightmare sequence, and I'm down for that. I want to see Max Caulfield like travel over time and stuff. That sounds like fucking badass. Like multiverse shit, and just see all these different realities. I mean, I think that's cool as shit as a concept. So, yeah, like she ends up on this beach with Chloe and Rachel, and Chloe's like, Max Caulfield, and so this is to imply, I assume, that Max like didn't come and find Chloe in this timeline or whatever. And they talk about that in one of the scenes. So like there's these infinite timelines where like this thing happened and this thing happened and this thing might have happened, and like all these other Chloes and Maxes, and there's probably one where I like actually called you and wrote to you and stuff, and we kept in contact, etc, etc, you know, like all these timelines. So I'm interested to see where we go from here. I'm excited, you know, this is cool. Like I really like the comics so far. I think it's good, and it gives your ending, if you chose the lesser of the endings, which I did initially, and I still think there's a lot of merit, and that ending should have been better to kind of accommodate for somebody who thought Chloe was sort of what they wanted to choose rather than Arcadia Bay. It's not really a great choice if you don't get a comparable ending, you know, not like a good ending, because the good ending isn't a thing, but, you know, it just feels less. But now that we have these comics and it's kind of playing on that ending and expanding upon that, I really do enjoy that. I think that would give that ending a more satisfying conclusion in retrospect. Even though that should have been in the game to begin with, I think this is also a nice way of doing that, you know, since we didn't get that in the game. So, yeah, I really enjoyed issue 1, Dust. So, yeah, I hope that the next issues will be good, and we'll talk about some other things. Maybe I'll find some other sort of video game related comics to comment on, or just something to that effect. But we're gonna start with Life is Strange. So, yeah, until next time, how do I, what's the thing? What did I say? It's always, like, don't forget to read between the lines or something. That was the catchphrase from the old channel. It's like, it never hurts to read between the lines. That's what it was. Alright, so, until next time, or I should say Volume 1, Dust, Life is Strange, very good. We'll see you next time in Volume 2, Waves. So until then, it never hurts to read between the lines. I'll see you in the next one.